Hey up. So, we're moving to the 80s, this episode with a sci-fi. Not had one of those in a while, so might be nice for a change. We're taking a look at Creepozoids. This is a 1987 sci-fi horror film directed by David DeCoteau, who has done a bunch of films. A few that stood out though, he did some of the Puppet Master sequels, and he also did A Talking Cat, which I think's got quite a bit of notoriety online for being a bit of a meme film. It looks like recently though he's been working on a series of TV movies, and there's a bunch of them and they're all called The Wrong. The film stars Linnea Quigley, who is a scream queen, and she's also got an extensive film list. A few that stood out from her filmography was Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Night of the Demons, and Silent Night Deadly Night. Nice to actually have someone in one of these reviews who's actually done something. Seems like a lot of these that we've covered recently has just been filled with unknowns. The film also stars Aisling Gear, who is mainly a porn actress, but she also, funnily enough, appeared in Crispin Glover's version of Willard. So, interesting little write-up. Seems like some people who are, competent, maybe. So, let's see what we get, shall we?
Who's out there? What are you doing?
Standing guard.
No, you're not.
90% of household accidents happen in the bath.
But we're breathing the same air as Jesse, and we're
Yeah,
okay.
but he was such a little guy.
Even so.
In the distant future of 1998, the world has collapsed. Everyone's at war and acid rain kills you. 5 deserters seeking shelter from the rain find an old abandoned bunker. Or so they think, anyway. Turns out it's actually a research facility, and the experiment is on the loose. Can they defeat the monster before they become one themselves? A little Alien, a little The Thing, but sadly, none of the talent. There's entertaining moments, sure, but the pacing is all over the place. For a 69-minute film as well, it's a big shame. The first act basically just boils down to 5 people slowly wandering around a base, checking things out. It's not the most boring film I've ever seen, but it's far from perfect.
I gotta do it, Jake.
No, I'm the one with the experience.
I've got loads of experience.
Yeah, in combat.
That's right.
Wake up.
The alien monster is pretty funny. It's clearly just a large rubber suit, and whenever we see it from a distance it's like comically squat, but it's charming and I liked it. Same can be said for a lot of the practical effects in this, to be honest. There's a lot of them as well. Some that really stick in my mind is the giant rats that kill people, because they just look like big plushies, and that's quite fun. And then the mutant killer baby at the end. You can tell that a lot of effort went into that model. It's like animatronic face and stuff like that, and you know what, I think it paid off. I think it worked pretty well, to be honest. The gore in this is serviceable. It's not a bloodbath or anything like that, but the stuff that we do get is relatively well made, to be honest. A lot of the action sequences though do just involve the alien just chucking people about a room a bit, really. The acting is probably some of the best we've seen in the collection in a while, and while it's not good acting, it's definitely passable for the most part. We get the odd line read here and there and stuff, but it's fine for the most part. Unfortunately though, all the characters are complete arseholes and spend pretty much the entire film just bickering with one another. The sets are decent, they can be a bit sparse sometimes, but they all work well for creating the mood, and camera work is fine too. It's not terrible, it's quite serviceable. For a low budget film like this, it all just seems to work pretty well. They also know not to show the monster in bright, open daylight or anything like that. Generally it's shrouded in shadows, and that's an important thing to know for this sort of film. This film did terribly on release. It was panned by critics and audiences across the board, but weirdly, 10 years later it got a remake called Hybrid in '97, directed by Fred Olen Ray, and it also did terribly. The poster made me laugh though. I mentioned earlier that this reminded me quite a lot of Alien. It's been known online as an Alien rip-off as well. It's things like all the characters being trapped in one location with the monster, to the monster spitting some sort of liquid goo sort of stuff as an attack, even down to how the monster looks in certain angles. It does look a bit like a xenomorph. I also thought it looked a bit like a Predator as well though, but it wouldn't be a rip-off because Predator was released the same year as this, so probably just a coincidence. It also made me think of The Thing. Again, characters all being trapped in one location with a monster, very much like The Thing. There's also light body horror elements, with the monster trying to change the character's like DNA into something else. I even got a few Evil Dead vibes here and there. There's one character that gets all like messed up and they basically become, it's like they get possessed, and the noises and the effects, a little bit Evil Dead, so there's some good reference points used in this film, I'd say. Lastly, before we leave, I want to mention this is the first credit for Guy Moon. Now, he's done a ton of music, mostly cartoons, all stuff I grew up with, things from like Fairly Odd Parents through to like Cow and Chicken and stuff like that. And I think he did a really good job with this. It's heavy on the synth and it's very fun. It fits perfectly with this sort of low budget, campy 80s sci-fi. Really good. Okay, let's have a look at this print then. So this was shot on 35mm and we do still get some of the grain and dirt from a 35mm print. It also looks like this is a VHS rip, so we get like flickers here and there. Doesn't look great, but then on top of that, it looks like it's quite compressed digitally. Some of the shots almost look like they've got that sort of PS1 dither look to them. So basically what I'm saying is the print isn't very good visually. Sound-wise, it's not too bad. And on the disc, we get the usual stuff, chapter select, trailer for this film, Hard Gore trailers. We also get something called Linnea Notes, which is just a biography for Linnea Quigley. Okay, time for the case. The cover is far too dark. You probably noticed earlier in the review, it's really hard to tell what you're looking at with it. And this little alien in the top just looks ridiculous. I swear it doesn't look this cartoony in the film. The blurb on the back reads okay, but it has terrible font, meaning that it's quite difficult to read. The runtime is also off by 3 minutes, which is way better than last week, but it's not great. There's actually a nice little piece of artwork on the back as well, which is a pretty fun touch. Overall then, this is a fun but flawed little low budget film. While the effects of monsters are quite endearing and the gore is pretty fun when we get it, unfortunately the pacing's a little all over the place and most of the characters are really annoying. This might make another movie night film, might make a good movie night film. You can chat over the boring, dull bits and pay attention when the big rubber monster comes in. So for that, I'd give it a light recommendation. There's a lot worse that we've covered recently in this collection than this. This does have a fun element to it. As far as print goes, this one isn't great. It's quite a low quality print. But fear not, as there are alternatives. So obviously there's the Street Collection DVD, which we always seem to come across with these. But also, Full Moon have done a fully remastered Blu-ray of this. So if you're a fan wanting an upgrade, that's probably a good way to go. Or if you just want to see it but you don't want to have to sit through some awful print, it might not be worth picking up if you can find it at a decent price. So, fun, but heavily flawed, this episode. And next episode, I don't really know what we're getting, but it looks like we're going back to the Millennium Trash. It was nice having a break from that while it lasted, but we were bound to get back to it eventually. Next episode, we're going to be checking out Dead Creaures.